Okay, so we've got a little bit of a practical lesson today. It's not necessarily, I guess, uber spiritual and uber theologic, so don't get mad at me for that. But I want to go over, I was thinking about this yesterday a little bit, and I found out I was doing Sunday school yesterday, so hence why it's a little more practical and not as studied out and thoughtful, I guess. But I want to go over 13 ways we can encourage our pastor. 13 ways to support and encourage your pastor. I was looking at stuff yesterday, and I texted a bunch of different friends in the ministry, and whether they're evangelists, missionaries, pastors, whatever they are, and I asked them, what is something that encourages you in the ministry that your people can do? Now, the Bible has commanded us to be under the authority of a pastor. And we, being a member of this church, we have an under shepherd, and that is our pastor. But let's look at this as it goes. I've kind of focused this on to Pastor Monday, but this applies really to Pastor Wes and Laura and Mrs. Monday and myself, and ways that we're encouraged and ways that we feel supported. This is a joint thing. They've given me a lot of ideas and information to give to you guys. So I want to go over 13 different ways. So if you have a pen and paper, if you enjoy taking notes, write these down. I might have them on the screen. I'm not sure. If not, that's fine. I'll try to go through these as quickly but as clearly as I can. Number one, this is kind of simple. Pray for him. Pray for your pastor. I know it kind of comes as, that's kind of like, okay, that's a duh. Yeah, we all know we should pray for our pastor, but I was talking to Dustin upstairs today, and we get to the point where our prayers are very selfish. I'm the same way. I know everyone is. We get very like one-sided with our prayers, like God help me, help my family, help this issue, help this. And that's what prayer is meant for us asking God for help. But we have another ministry and to pray for other people. And we should pray for our pastor. Here's 4 things to pray for him for. Pray for strength every day. We've done almost 50 funerals we've done probably over 50 funerals in the last 2 years. And those are taxing on my dad. Those are taxing on Wes. I've not been here for most of those, but those are not easy things to do. Especially when you go to bury a friend, it's a very emotionally draining day. So pray for strength, pray for rest. That's why Dad's in Missouri. He finds rest sitting out in the cold in a tree stand waiting for some animal to come by. I don't understand, but he does. But this is a time for rest for him, and he went a couple weeks ago, and this is kind of the last thing before he gets into the Thanksgiving and Christmas, New Year's seasons. This is a good time for him to recharge and rejuvenate. As a kid, I always didn't understand this. He always went away, and we always left Mom at home. He took all 3 of his kids and left Mom at home. I always felt bad when I was in Missouri, like Mom's not out here enjoying this. That was her favorite week of the year. She absolutely loved it. She didn't have the kids around. She could eat what she wanted, watch what she wanted, go where she wanted. That was always her time of rest. So pray for Mom and Dad. Pray for Wes and Laura to get the rest. Pray for wisdom. You know, we're approached with situations every day that we don't know how to handle. Kareth was texting us the other day, and there's a girl in her youth group who is identifying in all these different ways with the LGBTQ movement, and she's really conflicted because she knows it's going against the Bible, but she doesn't understand why she feels this way. And so she asked us, and I don't know what to say to that kind of person. And those kind of issues are up against us every day, and pray for wisdom in that, but pray for clarity. Clarity in both what we do and what we say. When you get up behind a pulpit, you have a tendency to get mixed up and say the wrong thing. We've all done it. We've all ticked someone off, offended someone some way. So pray for clarity in what we study, what we say, what we give to you guys. Number 2, another way to encourage your pastor is bring people in. This is a big thing. The Bible commands us that we are to go out and bring people in. We're supposed to lead people to the Lord, bring them in, get them saved, get them baptized, and God does the work, but we're supposed to be the footmen for that. And it's one of the most encouraging things to us is when we walk in and we see someone bringing a friend in. A lot of you guys did that for revival. We saw a lot of visitors here. I talked to a guy and his wife on Sunday who were brought in by Tony, Eric, and Carl. Worked with you guys in the department, and he brought them in, and he said, we go to church in Wiggins, but we're really thinking about trying something a little closer. And they said they really enjoyed service. And it's an encouragement to us to see you guys bring people in. Because we're trying to do the same thing, but we can't do it by ourselves. See, it's not our job to grow the church. We're supposed to help, we're supposed to lead, we're supposed to help grow it in our way, but it's your responsibility as well to help grow the church. So bring people in. Number 2, apply what you've learned. I was talking to Wes this morning, and one of the most discouraging things is to preach something and then go out and see someone doing the exact opposite of what you just said. Or to know a biblical principle and realize someone is living completely contrary to that. 3 John 1:4, I have no greater joy than to hear that my children walk in truth. This is what something Dad told me. He said, it encourages me, it motivates me, it energizes me to see someone applying a biblical truth in their lives. And it's encouraging for us, for you to come up and say, I've learned about this week. I've been looking at this in my devotions. I've read this and I've learned this. I've applied this in my life. Those things encourage and equip us and they energize us. Number 4, this is one of mine. Own it. Own it. Be faithful in what you do. Be consistent in everything you do. And be dedicated to the ministry of the church. We've got a lot of people that come into church every day and they take and take and take. And that's what the church is there for. We're supposed to give and help equip. But there are people out there who all they do is come in and they take and they never give back. If you're part of our church, own your role. And if your role is coming in and I can't be there for Tuesday nights for QAM. I have a hard time getting there for Wednesday nights. I'm there for Sunday school and Sunday morning, and own just that. Be there, be engaged, be faithful to where you can. I'm not saying you have to be there for everything and participating all the time and teaching a Sunday school class and doing that, but own where you're at. And if you can do more, do more. The thing is, there's always a thing for people to do, and it encourages us, it supports us knowing that we have people willing to work with us. So own it. Number 5, protect him. This is a big one you see in a lot of churches. I've seen a lot of pastors who work in a church, and I know Mrs. Smith and Mrs. Crow are here. You've seen a lot of churches who are always against their pastor. It's churches who are a hindrance more than a help to their pastor. We need to protect our pastor. We need to protect Pastor Monday and Pastor Carnes. If we hear gossip or criticism coming from the church and it's not founded on anything truthful, it's not founded in anything realistic, we need to squelch that right there. We should know that no one's going to get a bad word. Let me rephrase this. We should know that every person in here has got our back. Now, if we're doing something unbiblical, if we're living a way that is against what the Bible says, there is call for you to criticize us on that. But if someone is in the church criticizing the pastor for, I really didn't like how he did this, or I really don't like how he doesn't do this, that's not something we should listen to. We should know that we have people in our church that love us and care for us and back us up. I think of the deacons we have in our church, and the deacons we have, we know we can trust with all of our heart that they're going to support us no matter what. And this is our core group, and I'm speaking to the choir, I know. Be supportive and protect your pastor. Number 6, express appreciation. I have to slow down and say that. Express appreciation. And I put this, both spoken and written. How many of you guys do thank you notes? How many of you guys are like habitual thank you note writers? I saw Lynette. Yeah, I try. I've got this whole stack of stuff, and I've maybe written 3 thank you notes. I'm terrible at it. But it's so helpful to my dad, I know. To get a little thank you after the sermon, like, Pastor, thanks for doing this, or thanks for taking the stand you're taking, or thanks for doing this. It encourages him. It motivates him. It makes him feel like it's not this uphill battle, because often the critics sound a lot more than the people who like it. Critics are a lot louder than supporters, just in general. So be louder than a critic. Support your pastor. Thank your pastor for what he does. Number 7, or whatever it is, recognize that his first ministry is his family. I read this, and I had a friend tell me this, and I realized that Platte Valley has never been this way. As far as I can remember, Platte Valley has never done this to us, where they hinder my dad from being my dad. Platte Valley has always been amazing at letting my dad first minister to his family, then minister to us. But never get to the point that you think he's devoting too much time to his family and not enough time to me. Do you realize his family he's commanded to first be the leader in that, then be the leader to the church? I've seen a lot of men step down from the ministry because they've neglected their family first, but they've built a church, they've built a good church, but their family struggled. And this way, if your pastor has a strong family, the church is going to be strong in return. But a pastor with a weak family is going to have a weak church. So recognize that his first ministry is his family. He cannot support his church if he cannot support his family first. With mom and dad are empty nesters now, so it's just them. But even with Kareth getting married, everyone was fine with them taking a couple weeks to go help her move down. It was a stressful thing for them. I know some of you guys who know mom and dad really well and are close. That was not an easy thing for my mom. That was not an easy thing for dad. Mom has always been kind of that emotional rock, and she's great. And she told me, she said, I'd much rather Kareth be in Alabama serving the Lord than being here and living out of God's will. And she's very, very, Dad's like, I'd rather her be here instead of Alabama. And we'll just deal with the consequences later. But Dad took a few weeks, helped him move in, helped him kind of adjust to that. And you guys led him, and it was a big help. You guys supported him in that. Number 8, be available, but not pushy. We saw this when we moved into the new building, and we still see a lot of this today. When we were in the small building, there was a lot less responsibility, I guess. Dad was able to be a lot more personable with people and had a stronger relationship. You could say a stronger relationship. I probably wouldn't word it that way, but a lot of people say, yeah, I had a stronger relationship with my pastor when we were in the smaller building. But when the church grows, the responsibility grows. And he's still one man. And he's stretched thin. I've heard this multiple times, and not necessarily in this church, but I've heard people say, the pastor really doesn't give me the same time he used to. And I always want to ask, have you been giving the pastor the same time? We expect a lot from someone that we don't expect from ourselves. So be available to him. I put it this way. The pastor needs to know that if he needed something, he'd have someone there to ask. And a lot of you guys, and like I said, I'm preaching to the choir. We're talking about people who are here all the time. So this is kind of a refresher for all of us. But I know when Dad's up here, he can look out and he can grab there's any one of people sitting in every section that he knows, I can grab that person and they're going to help me out. They're going to support me, hold me up. In the Old Testament, I want to say the Old Testament, the Pentateuch. I don't remember the exact passage. Children of Israel go to fight a battle, and God says, you're going to win the battle as long as Moses' arms stay up. Now, if I had everyone put their arms up for a few hours, it'd get kind of tiring after a while, wouldn't it? And the same happened with Moses. He had his hands up in the wilderness, and the children of Israel were fighting, and they were winning, but his arms would get tired, and he'd put them down, and they'd start to lose. So Aaron and Hur came by. They grabbed his arms, and they supported that. And that's our role as church members. Our role isn't to be Moses. God hasn't called us to be the leader of the church. God's called Shannon Monday to be the leader of the church. But our role is the Aaron and Hur. We can come by, we can build him up, we can hold his arms up, and we can support him that way. And when we're not here, when we're not supporting, when we're not being available, we kind of let that arm fall, and the church falls with that. So fulfill your responsibility. Be available, but don't be pushy. I put it this way. Don't expect him to be able to give more time than he is capable of giving. I heard a preacher say it this way. He said, be available to your pastor, but don't expect him to be there for you all the time. If there's an emergency, my dad's there. I realize that. My dad has been great at, if there's an emergency, he's right there. He's going to work his hardest to get there. But don't expect too much from him. He's still one man. Like I said, a bigger church equals bigger responsibility, which equals a lot less time. Next, participate. This is one that me and Wes have a passion about. Participate. This means participate in the ministries that the church offers. Now, I'm not saying that everyone has to be at everything, but if there's a role you want to fulfill it joyfully. If you're in the nursery, I pray for you. I'm just glad that guys aren't allowed to be in the nursery. That's my thing. I was like, saved from that one. But if you're a nursery worker, have a blast. Be faithful. Be excited. Be ready to go. If you're in QAM, QAM's exhausting. I'm the first one to say that. They're long nights. But when I go in there, I know if I'm excited and energized, everyone else will be. And I'm up in that classroom really alone for most of the time, and then have the kids come up, and it's great. But whatever it is, be energetic and be participating. When it comes to the singing in the service, this is a big one. When it comes to the singing in the service, participate in that. It's really discouraging when you're sitting up here and you're singing a song and you have an energetic song that talks about Jesus saves, and there's some guy sitting there like, and not attempting to try to sing, refusing to. Don't be the wet blanket of worship. If there's a good song, if there's an energetic, try your hardest. It might be embarrassing a little bit, but go for it. God doesn't say, make a skillful noise unto the Lord. Not all of us sound like Dwight and Paul. But we can make a joyful noise and out-sing anyone next to you. If someone's singing louder, you try to sing louder than that person. It'll encourage the pastor. It'll equip the pastor. But number three, pay attention. This is something I recognize as a pastor, as a preacher. I know my dad does. I know Wes does. It encourages us when we're talking to someone and you have your eye contact. Or we see you writing notes. But I can tell you, we can see those people who are texting or who are messing around on their phone. And I'm talking about adults. I'm not talking about kids. When I was preaching a few weeks ago, I had someone, I'm not going to point to the section they were at, and they're not in this room right now, so we're fine. But they're not in this room, so we're fine. But I had someone messing around the whole, and I'm talking an adult, I'm not talking a kid. And I had half a mind to snap and stop. I almost did it, and I didn't. We can't do that. But it encourages the pastor, it equips the pastor, it supports his message, and it might be a boring message, it might be a flop. Understand that. But support, nod, have eye contact, take notes, that kind of thing. It'll help him grow as a pastor, grow as a speaker. Next one. I didn't number these, and I should have numbered them. Number 10, allow him to be real. Now, we have a pastor who wears his heart on his sleeve. Pastor Monday has never once hidden how he feels. Now, he's done a good way at suppressing and not being nearly as passionate about it, but he shows his emotion. He shows his aggravation. He shows his sadness with things, and he shows his passion behind what he does. And allow him to be that way. You see, God has made him who he is, and he has appointed him here. Recognize that and let him grow in that. Do you realize that Wes, Pastor, and myself are going to say stuff that might offend you? We might stick our foot so far down our mouth it's not even funny. But you cutting us off at that point and saying this person has no real reason to be up there does nothing for us. I said something during a message one time, and it wasn't here, it was back at school, and I said something that I knew I shouldn't have, and after I said it, I was like, okay. But I didn't apologize for it up there. But I had a guy come get me, take me to the side, and biblically confront me on this in the right way. And I apologized to him. I apologized to the audience later on. And that's the way to do it. If you have an issue with something we say or how we handle something, going to your neighbor and criticizing the pastor is not going to help. We do not mind being taken aside and told, I really didn't understand this. What did you mean? Or you said this, and I don't think that's what you meant to say. Or, Pastor, you're really hitting this hard, and I really don't think you should. We have no problem with that whatsoever. But if you go to the person next to you and just start bashing the pastor, number one, that affects that person's image of the pastor. But number two, it's unbiblical and it's a sin. The Bible lays out confrontation and how you're supposed to confront someone, and you're supposed to go to them in private first. So let him be real, but that doesn't mean let him just do whatever. But if you have an issue, come to us. Don't vent about it and leave. Come to us and we'll work through it. Number 11, cut the criticism. This is a big one I've seen in a lot of churches. Criticism does nothing but hurt the church family. Criticism, there are times to criticize, and I understand that. If I get up here and preach heresy, or if Pastor Money gets up here and preaches something that's completely anti-biblical, there's time to confront him and criticize him on that. or if we start living in sin and living a lifestyle that's contrary to what the Bible says, there's times to criticize on that. But if you have an issue with a personality, or an issue with maybe how he said something, there's no point for you to go to someone and say, that's a dirty, rotten guy, I really don't like him. And again, that'll only hinder the relationship with the church. So cut the criticism. If you hear a critic in the church, cut contact with that person. There's no point to listen to a critic. If someone says, man, I really have an issue with Pastor Monday, this is what you say, and this will work. I'll tell you this will work because it's worked. If someone comes to you and says, Chad, I really have an issue with Pastor Monday on this. Guy did this, he really ticked me off. You know what you say to him? Well, let's go talk to him. 9 times out of 10, that's going to cut the criticism right there. Because a lot of people are pretty vocal when the guy's not listening. When they realize the person's going to listen to them, they usually step back. So have your pastor's back on that. And you might say, I agree with this person, but we need to do this biblically. I'm going to go with him to pastor, and we're going to talk about this in a good sense, and we're going to try to make amends and restore that relationship. It's the same way with me. It's the same way with Wes, even Laura and Mrs. Monday. Come to us, confront us privately about it, and we'll help you through it. We'll try to change, we'll apologize, we'll make amends where we can. But doing it behind our backs with a church member will only break our relationship further, but it will hinder the relationship in the church. So number 12, this is a big one. Grab a hold of his vision. Encourage pastor to take risks. When we built this building, it was a risk. We bought this land, it was a risk. We had looked at every house around us on Warner Street, and we were about to buy the city block if we could. But it just never worked out. And I remember Dad bringing stuff to the church, and everyone was all on board for it. They were like, let's do it, let's go for it. They encouraged his vision. The problem we get to in society is that when someone has a vision, we have a tendency, especially the pessimists in the room, to be kind of the wet blanket to that. Now, I get that not every idea is going to work. I understand that we might try to do something and it's going to be a complete flop. But you sitting there criticizing it from your pew is not going to do anything. Do you realize we want to take risks? We want to build stuff. We want to go bigger and better with something. Allow us to take those risks. Be with us when that ministry is about risk. You see, Jesus Christ went to the cross for us all, knowing that some, if not most, would reject it. Jesus Christ gave all for, frankly, probably not a lot coming back. And we are going to try to take risks. Our pastor has dreams and visions, and we should be there to help encourage it, not to dampen it. It's discouraging when a person has an idea, dream, or goal. Put it this way, if I was this way as a kid, I had an idea. So I'd go to someone like, I have this idea. And the thing that always discouraged me was like, well, that's not really going to work. It's like, but we can't try it and find out? And you might have an idea like, okay, I don't see this panning out well, but he has an idea, so I'm going to back him up, and then if it does fail, I'm going to be there to help build him back up. Be that kind of person in the church. Don't be the kind of person that goes over to your neighbor and says, man, this is really just going to be a flop. I'm not for this. I'm really against this. We shouldn't do this. Let him take risks and be there when those risks don't work. And encourage him to try again. And the last thing, this comes straight from Pastor Monday. This is all him. Be patient with him and each other. Put it this way, we're a family. Let's act like it. Someone in the pew next to you might tick you off. You know, you as a spouse might come in and you might not be on very good terms with your partner. You might really not like what one of those deacons did or one of those deacons said, or you might say, man, so-and-so really got on my kid the other day and I really didn't appreciate that. Be patient with one another. Like I said, confrontation is one of those things that if you let that fester and grow inside of you, it's going to do nothing but hurt yourself. But be patient with Pastor. Be patient with us. We're growing every day. We're learning that what we did was wrong, what we did was stupid, what we did maybe wasn't the best way. Be patient with us as we grow in that. Because we're human. You guys didn't get a perfect You guys didn't get perfect leaders, I'm sorry to say. You guys got far from it. But be patient with us as we grow and try to be a better leader. But be patient with each other. It's discouraging when pastor gets up here, and we've had this a few times, where pastor gets up here and knows so-and-so over here is at odds with so-and-so over here, and they're fighting, and there's a lot of issues. I've seen my dad preach multiple times after just having some blow up between either him and a person or a couple people right before church. Here's a practical tip. If there's an issue you have with someone or an issue you have with pastor, wait till after the sermon. Just FYI. This has been years and years ago. We had a person leave the church. And Dad's in his office getting ready for Sunday school. Cody would remember this. He was there. Dad's in his office getting ready for Sunday school. This person walks in not an hour before church, hands a letter to pastor and says, "We're never coming back," and walks out. This isn't a person that fulfilled a small role. This person helped in Sunday school. They helped in everything. They were involved in everything. And I remember my dad getting up that day and preaching with the biggest heartbreak ever. If you have an issue with someone, with him, pick the right time. Say, let's go to coffee on Monday and let's figure this out. But don't air your dirty laundry 10 minutes before he has to get up and preach. That's a practical thing from a kid who's experienced the heartbreak and really the impatience after that. Because I ride home with that guy. And I know the heartbreak behind it, and I know his focus is off his message at that point. Let him do his thing and talk to him afterwards. Be patient with him and be patient with each other. So I'm going to run through these real fast and then we're going to be done. Number 1, pray for him. Number 2, bring people in. Number 3, apply what you've learned. You're here to learn. Apply everything you learn. Own it. Own the ministry. Protect him. Express appreciation. That's going to take, I'm still not going to have to say that right. Recognize that his first ministry is his family. Be available but not pushy. Participate both in the ministries you serve in, singing in a service and paying attention during a message. Allow him to be real. Cut the criticism. Grab a hold of his vision and encourage him to take risks. And be patient with him and each other. Now, I missed on something that Mrs. Monday is going to yell at me for. And then we'll be done. I have a sign-up sheet for the Thanksgiving dinner coming up. So I'm going to pass these around.